Welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. And greetings, blessings, salutations, and love once again. Welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott, sitting in a hotel room, a cheap hotel room here in Kansas City. So sincerely to all of you, thank you. Thank you to all of you who tune in, join, to celebrate, to criticize, to learn, to mock, whatever you're doing. Thank you for joining. You're a part of this experience with me. Maybe in my experience, you're just a data. You're included in the data, in the numbers that I see. But it brings comfort to me, your participation. Thank you sincerely for all of you who find your way to this crazy adventure with me. It's been thinking these ideas, right? This online experience, the Jack Talcott, I mean, hell, Talcott Tuesday. Where did that come from? It wasn't me, but I own it, I claim it, and I want to share it. Brothers and sisters, I'm having fun today. In the background is the reminder I've learned, and I want to remind to you that love is the answer. Love is the true answer we're all looking for. And so I want to welcome to all of you. For those who I think, see, I'm speaking to, in my mind, people who've been around, the faithful and loyal, those who have really joined and become a part of my team. So I'm speaking to those people who are familiar with me. And then at the same time, I'm speaking to those who don't yet know me. So just briefly, I am a man, a traveler these days. Since March 24th, I've been in transit, place to some degree, and my destination that I'm heading towards is Washington, D.C. So whether you're traveling or whether you've never left your hometown, in the aspect of time and dimension, we are all fellow travelers through time, here on earth, and at this time of history. So I welcome you. I salute you. I recognize that while your path, my path, our paths through time, they are clearly different than each other. Life is challenging. And I want to remind you, congratulations. Somehow we have all made it until today. Not everyone made it until today, but we are. We are the day. So congratulations. And if you can take that congratulations within you, give yourself a metaphorical pat on the back. Good job, right? You weren't perfect along the way, but you were good enough to get you through it. Today, it took billions of years, as it's said, as we understand, perhaps. It's taken billions of years and eons to bring us into today. And today starts a new journey. It starts a new journey for us all into the future. And consider this aspect of that idea, if you will. We are already well into the path of time, and time unites us with the all of eternity. So there's no separation from any of us or anything that was or anything that will be. And yet, well, let me not overcomplicate it. Brothers and sisters, I am excited today. Since the stream yesterday, I realized, here, I should do this, actually. Since the live stream yesterday, I realized a few things. And so let me do a little promotion, I guess. Where did I see that? Oh, I'll get to it later. In my time here at Kansas City. We did another collaborative live stream last night. If you missed it, please, I encourage you check it out with the Powder Dusty and myself. It was his channel, his stream, and I was restreaming it on mine. But it was a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity that I learned from for myself, because the intention behind it was, let's let Jack do what he says. Let's see if he can coach a man who's willing to be coached. And so we had a very healthy group conversation last night. I actually really enjoyed and thought it was pretty a great example, good value of healthy dialogue, healthy communication between growing adults, right? People who care. So I found with this opportunity ways that I could have easily done better as a leader, as a coach. For those who saw, or if you see it, in my own opinion, I got into the teacher's seat, not the leader's seat. And I lost sight of the best way to lead, which is to serve. And to serve, it must be, there's a lot of ways to improve. So admittedly, Jack had another opportunity, found another missed opportunity in some ways. And so it was lessons. And there's these life lessons that each of us pick up, man. Those life lessons can't be taken away. You don't lose when you grow. You don't lose when you're gaining knowledge and wisdom and experience. So the point is, there's another point. With these additional streams in my time here traveling and in Kansas City, we hit another milestone, man. I guess I should bring it up. There it is. That's what I wanted to show. 1,000 video thing. I'm not bringing it up, am I? I don't know if you can see it, but today with this stream, we're at the 1,000 videos here. Kind of blows my mind. I cannot believe how much of my time has been recorded and put here online. Praise God. So the 1,000 videos, it's not a milestone, and as a matter of fact, you can use it against me as well. Look at all that time you wasted, Jack. What have you done? What have you accomplished? You haven't done nothing. These are the critics I'm making fun of. I'm not making fun of them. I'm considering what I imagine is going to be said. But I think 1,000 is kind of cool. I wasn't sure where I was going to hit it and how it would work out, but everything is aligning perfectly. Naturally, organically, we hit this milestone, the 1,000 videos on Talcott Tuesday, man. Not only Talcott Tuesday, but on Easter week and all these other in real life happenings that have been going on. Praise God, man. Praise God. My missed opportunity. I can keep going into that, but I'm going to drop the link and open it up soon. We'll see what guests are. We'll see what happens. Austin, right, man. That's a lot of hours I've spent here. What am I doing with my life? Life sneaks up on us, right? These little things we do, it starts building up. If you've ever dealt with addictions, bad habits, look at it, add it up, see how much money you've invested and squandered and wasted. I did that with evaluating my own past choices. It's easy in this life to lose sight of what we're doing, to get caught up in the newest fad, the newest drama, the newest whatever, the escape. It's easy to get distracted in this world of confusion and lies, but your life depends on it. Your life depends on you paying attention. How are you spending your time? What are you doing? These are things I thought I was doing wisely. I thought I was doing the right things, following the rules, saving, not I wasn't having too much fun in life. I was limiting my travel and my pleasure because I wanted to be comfortable and provided for in the future. I thought I was wise. My care and my attention were misdirected because I had faith in the wrong things, but I didn't know that. I was confused in the past. But brothers and sisters, we all go through periods of confusion. We all go through periods in life. It's part of our development where we end up in the dark. We end up with bad advice or being tempted to go the wrong way. It's part of the individual character development that's natural and organic. It's all by the grace of God. All by the grace of God. Here, I'm going to go ahead and open the link because I realize how I talk. And often when I have other people with me, it helps me come across more clearly. I've been studying communication for a reason. It's because I've been challenged in that arena. Crystal consciousness. You said other night on flows, you still have a nest egg. That was quite fascinating. There's a lot of parts to my story that people are not aware of. And it's not due to deception. It's not due to any reason other than a lack of opportunity, a lack of awareness, consideration. But my life, I'm telling you, my life is so crazy. That's what convinced me God is real. I've experienced and witnessed unbelievable things. And not to take it away, it is actually very believable. A man works 28 and a half years federally employed with, benefits and security. I invested. I put money away. So for me to have a nest egg, I don't know. I mean, I know things with me, this life I'm living, the Jack Talcott story. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, we don't have it yet, but there will be books, potentially movies, films, or documentaries. There will be like video of me. And yesterday, in reviewing the stream and the comments yesterday, I was asked again about merchandise. I think it was Sammy Sunite, someone. I agree. We got to get some Holy Cows t-shirts, some Live Without Fear sweatshirts, right? Some merchandising so people can be a part of this and wear. But I haven't pursued the merchandising ideas because I have values within regarding the production, the sourcing, and distribution, and the workers, and all the other additional costs. So I haven't gone out and just gotten a producer to make. I could. But see, this is where subtly, and I don't think covertly, I think pretty openly, that's where I was hoping to learn from our friend Flow State. He's got a mind for merchandising, for marketing and income. There's many people who do. They've got different perspectives than me. That if we can bring the perspectives together, man, there's a good opportunity with me. There is a good opportunity with me. This is not true, Radio Guru. I get what you're saying, and I understand. Flo turned Jack into a capitalist. No, my friend. No. I was a capitalist before I learned differently. I understand economics. I understand capitalism. I understand business. I understand administration. I understand a lot of different aspects on today's society. I stand in my heart on some of the things we talked about yesterday. It's time for change. It's time for new ways to arise, because the old ways, they ain't working. They're working for a few. And when I'm talking the old ways, what I'm referring to is in the bigger picture, what every human being, you, me, and everyone else not tuned in, all around the world, we're all dealing with the same problems of the ways of inequality, the ways of separation, the ways of division, the ways of competition and combat. Those ways are the old ways. I think it's time for mankind to grow up. It's time for mankind, in my mind, I believe this is a story that God is revealing, because that's what's happening. God is revealing history through us all, and we are the stories of this time. And I believe the story that is being revealed, I'm not a prophet, these are just Jack's guesstimations based on the evidence I've found. But I'm pretty certain all of the pieces are coming together from what the ancient ancestors had talked about, the change in times, the shifting, and even the patterns of what was to happen right before it. See, what our ancestors knew that most people may not consider is time repeats. And we know this, right? We know the seasons each year. There's a new spring, there's a new summer, there's a new fall, there's a new winter, unless you're not in a tropical area, but these are just names of describing it anyway. So you get the idea where their seasons are the same, but they're always different. It's all unique, but different and the same. It's the paradox of this experience we have where we live. I've been given a lot of thought. This has taken us off a little bit, but I've been given a lot of thought to some of the more modern experimentations that have been talked about in the news, particularly the distinction between particle and waveform energy, the dual slit experiments, which I don't claim to fully comprehend, but the general basics of the experiment and the results make sense to me. It's a mystery. It's something that modern science hasn't kind of figured out. How does the influence of consciousness, how does that make a difference between the way that light and energy moves? The introduction of consciousness, of a sensor, of the awareness of the experience, the introduction of that awareness and consciousness actually influences whether energy and light moves as a particle or a wave. So a particle like a little pinball, or a wave like the water. So take that into the bigger debate of the shape of the world. Is it round? Is it flat? You go to the galaxies and it's infinite. And it seems to be, as I understand, it seems to be kind of a returning inclusive system. And yet at the same time, the galaxies are within a flat ray, right? There's patterns between the micro and the macro. When you can find those patterns between the micro and the macro, it's a pretty good assumption. It's logical and true. And then it becomes applying it, swinging all of this stuff around. There's debates on the shape. There's debates on how energy moves. And it's all within the additional variable of consciousness through the mind. Now I just lost where I was at. There was another point I was trying to get to. The powers of our minds have not been fully understood. It's something that the modern scientists, right, the experts who actually go in and spend their time and energy learning and studying and really considering these different topics. the aspect of consciousness. Bingo, finally bringing it back. When we bring in the aspect of consciousness, things and people behave different when they're being watched. You might realize that, you might not realize that, but it's an aspect that can be repeated, and it's been shown to be repeated, not just in people, but with particles, with animals. When something is being watched and observed, it behaves different. You know, a cop pulls up behind you, you're driving down the street, whether you're conscious or not, if you feel like you're being observed, you're going to change your behavior. Typically, not necessarily change, but it does. No, it does. Because anything you monitor and measure, you can influence. If you don't monitor and measure it, it's out of your control. People don't monitor and measure themselves. People don't watch themselves. If you become the watcher of you, you become the observer of you, you become the consciousness that is you, then you have a better chance of mastering who you are, answering the questions that you want to know. My life has brought me through periods of transformation, right? My world got rocked. And I feel like a winner. I really do. I found freedom in my detachment. I found strength in my isolation, right? Rediscovering, maybe for the first time in my life, discovering how competent and how strong and independent I truly am. So are you. We don't know what we don't know. And until you've had reminders, till you've had experiences, the things you don't consider, you don't know. Okay? I know this can sound contradictory, but think these thoughts through for yourself. These are conclusions that if you think about it, I'm confident you'll come to the same conclusion because it makes sense. If you haven't experienced or considered something, you have no way of knowing it. You can guess, you can imagine, but you cannot know. That's why life has been given. We're here to go through the experience of life. Life is an experience. An experience is just a participation in time. Time is an event, right? It brings forth the opportunity for events, and events are just relational ships between bodies, between forms. You and I were vessels in the darkness. We're wandering around this world of confusion. It's easy to get confused in this world. It's easy to become misled because everybody's doing it, man. But if not everybody's doing it. Praise God indeed. One of the thoughts I was thinking about earlier, I'm switching subjects again because, sorry, that's how I roll. Hold on. I don't know why I do this, but I do. Red 40, God bless you. Your bitterness, your negativity, your patterns of disagreeing, being disagreeable, it's been well observed, well documented. You've shown yourself to be authentic and consistent in your criticism and negativity. So I'm not sure if this is for me or El Perro or who Red 40 is claiming to be the expert on. You didn't detach. Everyone left you. Stop spinning the narrative of your life. It's all on record. All right. Those words are for you, right? Spinning the narrative of your life. You're spinning the narrative of my life, trying to say, no, you don't know. Everyone did leave me, but I don't blame. I accept and I understand. Because of my anger and because of the confusing circumstances, people didn't feel safe with me. So they left. I could hold on to the mental and emotional attachments that I truly still feel. I love my son. I love and miss everyone who was in my past, even those who are still opposing me. I'm still loyal with care and love. Now, I could have stayed attached and then I'd been broken and I'd been hurt. And I'd probably been pretty bitter, just like you, Red 40. But I'm not, because my words are honest despite your disagreement. I have detached. I've detached from this world in so many ways. And this is what I found. Let me bring up our guest here. Brother, welcome back, El Perro. How are you today?
Greetings, brother. I was just involved in that conversation because it's kind of funny, you know. I'm in the same situation. My family detached from me, so shouldn't I detach from them? I mean,
Yeah,
if my mom and dad tell me they no longer wish to speak to me, then would I remain so attached that I demand that they speak to me? No. So it's better to leave them alone and detach. That's what a man should do. So Red 40 seems to imply that the only way you can detach is to do it yourself first. No, it is like somebody else in the chat said, reciprocal.
yeah. Every
It's a matter of etiquette of not poking the bear. Once somebody tells you that you pissed them off, do you keep pissing them off? No.
well, I do. I do.
Yeah, but
Sometimes.
then you look like an angry old man. Am I
Well,
correct?
brother, this is where you're a part of my growth and development. I was talking about you recently, right? You and I were kind of mirrors of each other. We're reflections in different ways. And I'm going to, no offense, brother, but you helped me see how stupid I looked when I was yelling at everyone. Because you don't look that great when we're yelling at everyone, getting angry.
Not
So,
at all.
so, but this is part of maturity. Being This is part of maturity, and this was actually demonstrated last night on the live stream with the Powdered Dusty and the others. Being able to reason with criticism, being able to reason with negative feedback, and to consider it, not just dismiss it, but to really learn from what people are saying.
You know, one of the favorite techniques of today's modern investigation professionals is to employ criminals because they're the ones that are in a position that they have to come up with innovative ideas that beat today's technology.
Mm.
So they're trying to be up in the forefront of beating today's technology by being the ones employing those criminals that are beating that technology. So they're finding the loopholes and stuff through the people that are um, in the position that they need those. You got to employ that negative aspect in order to see how positive your aspect is. In the
Okay.
in the situation with my parents, I've got to
Mhm.
try to understand it from their perspective. Are the police really my authority? If that holds true, then I've got to bow down and admit the police are my authority. Today, as of yet, no one's been able to prove that. They all profess God.
Well, this is unfortunately where the society we were born into, it's failed a lot of people, right? Because in that experience you're talking about in your parents' mind, it was true to them. You clearly know it's not true for you. And brother, that's another example of what I've been trying to point out. Your evidence, right? In that story, you're told one thing by people who care for you, right? Who you look up to and you rely on. You're told something, and then you find out it's not true. So this is the world we live in. What I'm getting at is, in our lives individually, every one of us is on an individual path of growth and development. Every one of us is going to receive bad information or partial information or distorted information, and each of us has to figure it out.
Yeah, we're each indoctrinated to live with the little lies, and those little lies grow into bigger lies, and then we become so indoctrinated that we can't dare admit to it, because that would then tear down the entire foundation.
It's how we're designed. But when you bring God into the equation, it's a perfect design. It follows patterns of logic and reasoning. It makes perfect sense. We're designed to. We are eternal spirits of energy, mind, heart, consciousness. We are eternal beings beyond the form. We've been given this gift of life. It's a game created by our Father, and hosted by the mother of form that gives birth to the experience, the journey of creation. So this game of life has been given to us. And here's the simple observation. We can live life with God or without God. We get to choose. It's literally that simple. But I tell you what, I tried living the life without God. I convinced myself I couldn't believe, I didn't understand, there was no way. So I felt alone, and I lived a life alone, and it was tough and it was miserable. And I worked real hard and I tried real hard. When I lost everyone and everything around me, it allowed me to restart. And when I chose to restart, I'm not going to become alone anymore. I will be one with God when I give myself to God. And so God is the unknown, the power that is behind everything and within everything. God is the unknown that reveals the truth. So God is my truth. My religion is love. And I believe that this is the way that Christ Jesus was talking about.
You know, when it comes to that Jesus and being the light, the life, and the way, one of the things I noticed in my research is the beginning of Judaism. In other words, after the Israelites were freed from slavery, and they created Judaism. That's why we get the term Jew instead of Israelite. And in that was because they suffered with the Serapha snakes, because they complained about this paradise and didn't know how to use it and run it and all this. And that's when they demanded an earthly king. So they went forth with nations of kings. And then Jesus came about because the Mosaic law of the Ten Commandments was brought by Moses. Jesus came to teach the law. So he was the true king in the form of man, not a national king, but the king of men. And so when you start acting in the way, the light, and the life, you're not a king of a nation, but a king of men. So we go back to Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou was cast forth from the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. He put that intent in every last one of our hearts. That's our that's our capacity as people above the rulers of these nations. We have to be the ones that profit unto the nations. Therefore, are we not supposed to be the ones speaking to the nations and teaching them and educating them of the word of God and how this is really supposed to work? Owe no man anything but to love one another, for to love one another is to fulfill the law. I think the scripture tells it, and it's not a matter of anybody claiming to be Jesus. We are all meant to hold the same capacity as kings of men, not kings of nations. And when we fall subject to the kings of nations, then we have lost our own kingship.
Yes. The king is the sovereign. The king is the ruler. Now, Jesus demonstrated by act, word, and deed, he demonstrated how a king rules, how a sovereign lives. A sovereign and a king lives to serve. Jesus is the epitome of leadership. People have kind of lost sight of that, honor his sacrifices, but without recognizing how he led. He led with the truth. He led with love, right? And love was leading him. This is what I've been learning how to do. It's scary to be willing to walk away. It's scary and illogical to be willing to forgive. Red 40, you're a perfect example, man. Red 40, you're a perfect example. Jack, why isn't your journey more urgent to get to DC? I thought you want to end wars. You're correct. Every day you waste more, people die. Get moving. Those words are true, Red 40. Now consider your relationship with me. If you're honest, what are you going to do? I took us off. There's the point of forgiveness. That's what, here, actually, I lost where I was. Welcome, Hank. How are you today, my brother?
I'm doing good. But I'm asking you, why take backseat drivers like Red 40, guys who can't even fix their keyboards, doesn't type all caps all the time, seriously?
I don't. Thank you.
I mean,
You're
he
right.
bought a grip wrench from a Lumatomi. I feel like he has some relevance. I mean, you could just come on panel and talk to someone directly.
It's the absolute truth. Thank you, Hank, for
You're breaking up there, Jack. So in the meantime, somebody's speaking about we're actually jesters, and if you look at the role of a jester, the jester was the one that was the only one allowed to use truth to make humor of the various different rules under the king and mock the people as a matter of relieving political and emotional tensions.
I missed that last part. The Joker, the jesters, they're able to say things that most people can't get away with. That's what I understood.
Right. And at the same time divulge absolute truths as a means and purpose of relieving tensions in political and emotional ways. That's their main purpose.
And it makes sense. Here's where it supports my conclusions, right? Our God is love. Love is fun. It's through having fun, we as children, right? Through having fun, that's where we really learn the most. Now, we also get the deepest memories and the deepest lessons when we go through scary times, right? So God's allowed plenty of scary experiences here on the world so people could learn a lot of different things. If we unite together, We don't all have to face the same scary torment. We don't have to face the same problems. We can help each other. I'm pretty sure that's what we're here to do. What you got, man? Oh, what? You're muted.
Are you ready, folks?
Yeah.
Start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
That was it.
What did he say?
He said that they're saying I'm going to start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
Play it again.
You will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
Who is he allegedly speaking about? Because I don't see him stopping any wars yet.
Well, he's claiming people he says, well, people are claiming he's going to start wars.
Oh. Yeah. He has. He has started wars. This is actually, guys, in all seriousness, this is actually what I'd like to have real adult conversations with Donald Trump and the other men and women of Congress. The division in this nation is a direct result of inadequate leadership. Simple as that.
Absolutely. And
I
remember,
don't blame the people. Oh, please.
remember Hillary Clinton accused him of avoiding taxes. And he says, yeah, I use the same loophole you and your friends use. You could have done something about it, but you didn't. So here we have Trump in office. Is he going to do something about it?
Let's make sure that he does. Let's make sure that the things that are done are actually the right things to do. Donald Trump is a perfect example. We are all evidence of whatever. We got to find the right meanings. But I believe that what Donald Trump is he's an evidence of today's society. The kings are reflected by the mindset of the people. The Bible talks about, immoral people get punished with corrupted rulers. Our freedom is tied to how we treat each other. Donald Trump doesn't treat people very well. He's not free. He's a prisoner of his ego. He's literally insane. And I'm saying that politely, but I can explain the allegation of insanity.
No, here's the problem. Anyone can call anyone else insane. I mean, Limit Tommy calls you insane, but he's a hypocrite and he doesn't make a good case for anything. So we had to have a very firm basis. Otherwise, you're not gonna convince anyone. Like Limit Tommy can't convince anyone.
Right. I claim to be able to demonstrate through definition of terms, through presentation of evidence. I believe that I can present the case that concludes my words, because these are true. What I'm saying, Hank, anyone can imagine a conclusion. Anyone can say anything. For those who have been tuned in a while, you've been witnessing it. Part of my life testimony. I've repeated this many times since 2018. People have imagined things against me. I've been misunderstood. I've been misrepresented. I've faced many false accusations. Now, what I haven't had yet is a reasonable conversation or a fair opportunity to bring resolve. So, Hank, we got on this because you're pointing out I'm making the claim that Donald Trump is an example of insanity of today. Do you want me to explain?
No, I want to explain something different.
All right.
Yes. So why should we take certain things of certain accusations of insanity seriously and not take every claim any accusation of insanity seriously, because people accuse you of being insane too. So do I need to get someone else to intervene with you, where you can intervene with Donald Trump, or how does that work? Where does the chain end? Or am I also insane?
What do the facts show? That's what I was trying to bring attention to when I say that I can explain my allegations and my words. I can present facts. Facts being the evidence that I'm referring to, the evidence that I'm considering in my conclusion. The other facts will also be the definition and clarity of terms. So this is part of the problem. This question you're asking, Hank, is actually a deeper question because it's part of the philosophical issue of today. People go to people for opinions, not facts. This is what my life has shown. People enable confusion because they confirmation bias, and then they create these echo chambers, and just it's a internal feedback loop where people get confused. To free ourselves from confusion, what's it require?
Definitions, so we can know what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
when you say insane, I know what you mean when you say insane, so I can check for myself.
Yes. Can you accept it as a definition of insane being those who believe in illusions, those who participate in things that are not real?
No, because society is not real, but we participate in it just for our survival. So I can't agree with that definition.
Why?
Because it's society is just a process we interact with to abstract over the items we need, the people we need and rely on. So that's not real, but we need to use it to efficiently acquire stuff so we can protect our families and such. So I can't agree with the definition.
Okay. Well, I think what your disagreement with is, I understand it would be a bigger burden perhaps, but can you consider the idea, for the sake of discussion, that the world is operating under normalized insanity? That not everyone is insane, but that what you said, these systems are worldwide. It affects everyone. So if what I'm saying, if people participate in things that are not real, that means they're insane. Well, yes, Hank, I am subtly making the case that the entire world is insane.
All right, so here's the problem with that. If everyone's insane, then your definition doesn't have any meaning. So we can't.
How does? Wait, no, your disagreement is illogical, because the definition was what?
We're believing in something that's not real, but we have to believe in something that's not real just to survive right now. So that would mean surviving is insanity.
No, we could believe in God together rather than money together.
Yes, but the atheist code of Alton says we're insane because they claim God's not real. So we need to ground their definitions better.
Right. And this comes back to what I've been saying for a long time. It's time for us to grow up, to move beyond these disagreements of belief, because what I'm saying can be supported with facts. The only thing, here's a lesson I've been learning, and it kind of takes us off, but it was pointed out last night with the conversations, how I've had patterns of being triggered by our friend Chuck in Tennessee. Okay. So, which is true.
Chuck triggers me too. It's not, Chuck triggers everyone. I don't think that's a big deal.
Well, it is for me because, well, my situation. So what I had to accept is, yes, I have been allowing myself to be reactive. And as a result of my reactions, I've been rude. I've been mirroring back what I view is what I've been receiving. I feel I've been receiving rudeness, so I drop down and I give back rudeness, and then I get blamed. I get criticized, not by everyone, but by enough people that it's true, right? So we can understand each other if we're willing to find an agreement. But if we want to stay divided, we always will.
All right. So you're willing to ground your definition coherently so I can distinguish between a sane person and an insane person? I have a check? Or is it just going to say that everyone's insane, so we just have to just do what I tell you? I don't know.
Well, Hank, actually, no. I'm not going to improve the definition unless you show me where I'm failing, because so far we've just once again deflected from the point in the topic of where I'm trying to go with the idea, because we're finding disagreements in the word.
I'll show you again where you're failing. You don't have you literally put everyone in the same pot in an unreasonable basis because you say you're leaving stuff that's not real. But but the facts are we had to believe stuff that's not real just to survive. That's how our bodies were set up by God.
Okay, great. Hey, great. You're right. So now what? You won.
I want better
Jack's
definition.
wrong. The world's not insane. The world is great. Donald Trump has no psychological problems. Elon Musk has no psychological problems. Jack is wrong. You win, Hank. Now what?
No, I'm not. I don't win because I have to concede I have psychological problems. So everyone loses unless we can find a way to distinguish between sane and insane. But right now, the way you have it set up, everyone's insane.
How about this? If we can just conceptually agree, a loose term of delusional or insanity is believing in things that are not real, participating with things that are not real.
I just told you no.
Okay, not even for the sake of conversation. You're not even going to play along.
I can't play along because your definition's garbage.
Hank,
everyone's insane in your definition, and I told you this the third time I told you.
Hank,
I don't accept your definition because it's ridiculous.
Please stop repeating your rules for me, because your rules are making it impossible for us to continue the conversation. So
it's not okay for me to disagree with your definition. Maybe
Hank, you can do whatever you want, but I'd really ask you to consider what is in best interest.
Okay, I'll accept your definition, but then I had to concede that everyone's insane. What's now?
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that, because the next step that I was simply trying to point to is to get someone to stop interacting with false things. You help them to see the real things, and the real things are the individual's personal behavior. Okay?
But that's just a process.
Okay. Welcome, Steelman. How are you?
Hey, thanks. I just thought you guys might be able to use a little mediator real quick, because I know sometimes that helps me. I wanted to kind of clarify where I think everyone's coming from. And
would you please? Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be wrong about anyone's perspective. This is just where I see it is. I think Hank's kind of saying that he's conceding to your terms of your definition, but by conceding, he's saying he agrees with that. But by your standard, as you've agreed with, everyone is insane in society because we're living in an insane sort of society. So therefore, you've already won the debate that you've proven Donald Trump is insane just by that. So you don't need to explain any further.
Okay. All right. I see. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, yeah. So now that you see, so he's saying, so now how are you distinguishing Donald Trump being insane from everyone else being insane?
I think I see what you're saying. And does that seem right for you, Hank?
Correct. He meets his names. The Steelman, he Steelman my position excellently.
No, this is wonderful. I've been trying to improve in my ability to do that. It's a great skill. Okay, so the burden, maybe I wasn't as clear with where I was trying, or maybe I got myself taken off the intention. I'm not trying to as much separate or distinct from an individual to the collective, right? I'm not trying to show that Donald Trump is more insane than anyone else or to prove anything. I'm suggesting he's an example of many. What I'm pointing at as far as the belief in illusions, delusions of grandeur. When people think they are more important, more powerful than they actually are, that's delusional. It is insanity. The billionaire class has plenty of evidence. They think they're better than others. They're not.
But it's an infinite power of insanity because it's socially constructed. None of it we're talking about is technically real. So I don't know who's gonna show us the real stuff. That's the problem. Who can see the difference between the real stuff and the not real stuff consistently to show us what the real stuff is.
Anyone who is willing, especially willing to ask questions, anyone who is willing is able to find the difference between truth and lies. That's what I'm suggesting is the solution for this world, Hank, that we stop playing these games of secrecy and lies.
So how do I know that's not insanity too? But what's the way out of Plato's cave?
I don't feel like you're trying to understand me.
How do you know that feeling's real?
Because your question is based on you're taking, okay, I'm not feeling any inquiry into what I'm actually saying. I'm saying, and then you're thinking of new things to challenge me on.
No, I'm trying to understand. So how do you know that feeling's real? I'm trying to reason with you. What tools can you give me to distinguish between sandy or insanity or real and not real?
Can you explain why? So I have a better understanding of what I can answer to help you.
Yes. So I can individually validate any claim you make rather than to say, well, just go with Jack says. He knows the difference. That's what I want to do.
Okay. Well, Hank, if I'd seen more of you actually trying to validate instead of invalidate, I'd believe you. But I don't believe that's what you're doing.
Come on, man. You've seen me for at least 2 years.
I realize that.
Yeah, all right. What I think is Hank's trying to say he doesn't want to just bandwagon without, so in order to resolve this, I think that we should let Jack continue his explanation and then see if Hank this clarifies his question more. What do you think about that, guys?
Let's go for it.
I appreciate that, and I don't mean to have doubts in this, but I mean, where I'm going, Hank has already heard it. He's not accepted the explanations that have been offered, and he's continuing to try reasons to invalidate, and I don't understand why.
Well, I think he is trying to get clarity. Actually, the reason he's actually trying to say, look, I don't just want to bandwagon like everyone else and not question this. I actually have questions at the get-go that aren't being clarified. Like, if you're going to actually declare this man insane, then he wants to know what are the terms, because we've already decided that everyone is technically insane in society that goes along with it. And you've kind of then just given a vague definition. Well, because he's a billionaire class member, I don't mean to say that. Maybe I didn't get all your definition.
I get you.
Yeah. And that was kind of it. And I actually had a little pushback on that as well. I wanted to touch on, which is that. So the way we distinguish, I don't mean to say pushback, but just
no, please. Yeah.
Thank you. So I kind of see where they're coming from, not completely, but just from their perspective, which is like, if it wasn't for technology, we would be living in, Yeah, we'd be like another class, almost another race of people in a way, or not a race, but a species or whatever. Not like technically another species, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so they're actually, to them, they're looking at this as technology is progressing the human like species or whatever forward, like technically speaking, like they feel like they're actually progressing humanity out of like lower hominoids and like out of the dirt and using tools to like progressing them to using technology to like getting to Mars or whatever the heck they think that we're going to do, right? So what I'm getting at is you can see in like a lot of these, just in general, a lot of the population isn't exactly like a higher level of thinking. A lot of, I'm not saying everyone's not, but yeah, there's a large part of the population that's not exactly beneficial to society. That at least it could be argued that would be the case. And so what these billionaires are saying is, look, there's too many people who are just way too far left behind. They're not even acting like humans. They're not even, some of them aren't even humane. We need to get rid of the inhumane people in order to progress society. And so I think that's where like what you're kind of saying is these billionaires, they think they're better than everyone, but actually they, in a way, some of them kind of are, in the sense that they're more enlightened, not necessarily the billionaires, but you know what I'm saying.
I get what I do get what you're saying. And here's where I see, I don't know all the details. I don't know every single answer, but I do know that when people stop lying to each other, when people are actually honest and communicate, we can work together. We don't spending so much time arguing and beating each other down. Yeah, it's helped us become stronger. It's helped us develop in different ways. There's benefits to that. But this is our lifetime. I spent a lot of my life trying to obey the rules, trying to fit into this society. That's when I realized it took me a long time because I blamed myself. Life was hard and it was miserable and it sucked and it was without joy. And I had to blame myself and realize I was insane because of the society we were born into. I'm not blaming my parents. I'm not blaming my society. I'm not blaming me. This society we've been brought into, secrets and lies in the governments and the corporations, has made us slaves. It's time to end slavery. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I actually had a very similar experience, and I refer to myself as the sickness of society.
Beautiful.
Exactly. And the meat eating was what really got me. You're referring to other things. And so that's one of the big things, and that's why we hear people try to make fun of like people who don't eat meat by saying, "Well, you'll know if somebody doesn't eat meat because they'll tell you." Well, I liken that to like say something. I don't buy all the propaganda, but just propagandically speaking, right? Like during World War II, if you weren't speaking out against the atrocities back then, they say, oh, well, nobody, then they say, oh, why didn't you speak up? And so when you see an atrocity that's so bad, of course you're going to speak up against it. And that's why so that's why you hear all of these, because we're saying, look at this, this thing that's going on. And I don't know what I don't know what happened with you in Flow State the other night as far as meat and vegetarianism goes, if you guys talked about that or not, because that's kind of my main. I wanted to debate him on the Raging Tomato. We were supposed to do a debate on that, and he tried to bring up all these different points, which I have actually looked into, done a lot of research since we talked about it, and I feel like all of my points were on point. ChatGPT agrees that I have the solid argument here, and so like when we're talking about this is if we want to help society get unsick, I think that's one of the first places to start. You know what I mean? Is if we can't stop the wars, like I've come to realize, if we have slaughterhouses in our backyards, we're going to have wars overseas, and until we realize the sanctity of life, you know what I mean?
So are plants alive? Are plants alive still, man?
Okay, so Hank, I actually have a totally reasonable explanation for all of this. So and I'm not like going to throw the Bible as a scholarly, reputable source, but I'm just referencing it for this second to say that even in Genesis, God says, I give you all seed-bearing plants as meat. And what is a seed-bearing plant? From my understanding, it's a botanical fruit. A fruit is what bears the seed. And so vegetables, that's why like vegetables are high in starches and all of those things, because they're not good for humans. To eat a vegetable, you have to kill the plant. A vegetable is not a fruit, right? So like a carrot, for example, is the root. An onion's the root. You have to, like you're saying, Hank, you have to kill the plant to eat a vegetable. But to eat a fruit, you actually do not kill the plant. You spread the seed. You offer that. It's meant to be that way. You live in a symbiotic relationship when you eat fruit.
Yes, but people can literally live off of the potatoes. That's why the Irish potato famine was so bad. So
That's true too.
Oh yeah, you may be able to like live maybe even for a short period of time off of potatoes, but I would argue that is not the healthy, and like you saying, it's not the healthy, ethical, or natural way to survive, because then you have to farm, you have to have agriculture, you destroy your crop. But when you live on a fruit diet, if we were actually living how we're supposed to on the equator, eating naturally fruits outside and then leaving our seeds outside, we would actually be spreading the seeds and they would be growing more fruits.
you do understand it. Yes, but if you do understand the least degree of you, but that's why they say we had to get rid of 99% of the people because the fruit can't support the population.
Well, you bring up a good point, because in a lot of these masculine circles, they're talking about our population is decreasing. We're not having enough babies, and we need to start getting women to have. What are they talking about? Where are they getting that talking point from? I thought the whole point was that we're having problems with overpopulation.
Well, we
and
can't.
And it seems like nature is actually working naturally.
Because we can't support the elderly population with just few people. So because we'll have an ecological collapse. That's where they're coming from.
Well, this is actually a holistic perspective here. I would actually, like I said, argue that we shouldn't even be living off of the equator. And if we weren't living off of the equator, then that would solve a lot of problems. I mean, I would say that all tools, including clothing, if we made all of that obsolete, and we lived actually in symbiosis with nature as God intended, that would solve all the problems.
Well, yes, and there's more to it. We are where we are, right? Society has evolved into this way of being and commerce and logistics into what it is. But we're at an amazing time. Just because things were the way that they were doesn't mean we have to continue those. And Steelman, for myself, it was 2018 when I started learning different things. I looked into the way the food production and stuff like that was handled, and it's a simple conclusion to make. I mean, think about it. Is this society putting safety and health and life before profits, or is it profits above all else? Look at the shelves. Look at what is being fucking sold to you. Look at the chemicals. It's just craziness what we've become so accustomed to, because it's on the news, it's in the TV.
It's amazing. You become accustomed to the plastics. And we have this guy in Chicago that came up with plastic diesel. Have you heard about that? So we have a remedy for plastic, supposedly, for diesel fuel.
There's actually a lot of opportunities. I think I've seen something along those lines. I can't remember if it was plastic, but there was people recycling, not only turning like food oils and stuff into biofuel or whatever that alternative fuel sources. There are many alternative fuel sources available. There are many amazing people and groups working towards solving some of these problems, discovering how do we deal with these forever chemicals, the BPAs and the stuff that we put into the rivers, and How do we deal with these microplastics? What do we do with the floating islands of garbage out in our oceans?
So I would beg that my philosophy, if you don't mind me, sort of interrupting, but it has a solution. So, and I've recently come to realize that what I have here is actually a new philosophy, which is an appeal to nature, which no one is actually doing. And now I would say that every solution that you're talking about creating will actually come with its own additional problems. And that's what the thing is that this is what we've done is we've tried to create solutions, and all of our problems are coming from the solutions. It's a problem solution reaction situation that we've loopholed ourselves into as a society.
That's why I raised my eyebrows when you said the thing about the equator and that, and going back to nature in that sense would solve all the problems.
That's kind of what I'm saying, is that we have to sort of dismantle. You can use sort of technology like you're saying, but in a way it has to be to dismantle the system as well. I envision that if we get advanced enough that an alien life form that would come over, not that I'm going to say aliens are real or space. I'm just saying in this theory, like they wouldn't even see humans exist because we would be so in symbiotic relationship with the planet, right? They shouldn't come over and see buildings and all that shit. We would be like living underground, and then we would emerge during the daytime or whatever, and like live where we wouldn't be destroying the planet. And like if someone came over the planet, they shouldn't see us, right? The most advanced civilization is going to be so in tune with their planet, instead of destroying it and all this shit. And we shouldn't even be seen. We should be that because nature has the most advanced technology. That's where I'm going with this. Is we have lost the realization that nature actually is intrinsically more advanced than anything we can create.
Yes. So I'm great friends from Machine Life. All of us on the rest of us on panel is, and I heard this argument before. So my question is, if nature's so good, why aren't you using it right now? Why using the technology?
Well, they are currently expanding territories of deserts with reclamation projects, which is a matter of forming the ground in the flat, dry desert areas to have little banks and eddy areas where water will actually collect and pool up, and therefore the soil will maintain its moisture better. In that will provide small areas where small plant growth will start to root and start the whole process as you slowly integrate and assimilate the larger plants and growths. Then comes the natural environment of the other animals, insects, everything. You have to rebuild that biome.
I understand that, but if Stillman's advocating living in mud huts, why is he not living in a mud hut right now?
Well, okay, so
there are people that do. There are people that do. It's already started.
I know that, but why isn't he in one if he's selling it to me?
And I know it sounds crazy, Jack, but I just want to explain a little bit. Like even like if we lived on the equator and we were bathing in this ocean, that salt water, for example, is just one thing that humans again are overlooking. We're supposed to be bathing in that salt water. That's like antibiotic fluid or whatever that babies are carried in. That has antibacterial properties. That would heal our oral hygiene and everything. The way that people are brushing their teeth is like, again, to solve the problem of the food that we're eating. But when you brush your teeth, you destroy that whole healthy bacterium that's in your mouth that's important for your gut digestion and everything. And so we're creating all these problems. And this is why, like, if this is how I actually tapped into this, is Flo was saying, we need to eat meat now because we need B12. And this is what actually led me to complete my nature philosophy, because I looked into that and I realized, so not only are animals supplemented with B12 and that's how they're getting it, so that actually destroys this whole theory of that's why we need meat, but also that we actually produce, the B12 is produced by bacteria in the gut that we would get from being in unsanitary conditions, by handling dirt and by being outside and by being exposed to germs. We would actually get the B12 that we need. We wouldn't need to eat animals. And oh man, I forgot where I was going. With that, but so I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I forgot where I was going with that. But you can see how it's just this cycle. We need to be more in symbiosis. That's all, and that's all I'm arguing for. But I forgot my main point on that. Which if I remember, I'll get back to you. I apologize.
Yeah. So you're selling me on a lifestyle, but you're not really doing it yourself yet.
Well, then
So let me-
dismiss everything he says. Don't listen to him.
Well, and I
Well,
you
no.
know,
Well,
So
I'm
here's
just
why.
saying. I'm just saying. I'm just making an observation. I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
what's real, but maybe I'm
No,
saying
I have
can't see what's
actually.
real.
I do have an explanation for that. Like there's, and a lot of times people can have philosophies for things that they can't implement because of the societal norms. And that's why you have to change people's minds in order to implement the philosophy. You have to change society's minds first. So because, for example, even if I did try to go live on the equator, I would get arrested unless I got off the United States, right? Because, you know, all that's going to be reserved national land and all that stuff. You have to like own the land and all that stuff. And the way our society is set up isn't structured for that. Like, let me give you another example. Like people argue against food stamps, but food stamps are actually implemented into the system already. Like you can't just take away food stamps without changing the whole system, because like we have property taxes and we have laws where you can't even legally grow wheat on your own land, you know, due to the Commerce Clause. You can't, you know, and just like you can't grow medical marijuana and all that stuff due to the Commerce Clause. Like there's so many laws in place that don't allow you to actually feed yourself off land, that they have to supplement that. And so you're like saying, why don't you just do away with it? Well, because there's so many laws in place already on the books that we have to do away with all of that stuff and change the system in order for it to work for us, for me.
I understand,
That's
but
what I'm proposing.
then we dismiss that stuff as not real already. So why do we need to change any of it?
Hank, don't bring up arguments you never allowed us to finish. Okay, I mean you wouldn't allow a resolve to that dispute, but now you want to use that as an argument.
I'll give up.
against me.
Jack's right. I have to defer to him to figure out what's real because I'm insane.
No,
Wait, what was his question?
I'll defer. I can't figure out what's real for myself. I'll defer to Jack. He'll figure it out for me.
No. What was your question, Hank? I apologize, Jack, if we're like.
no, please.
So why do we need to change that stuff if we already dismissed it? It's not real.
Wait.
If society is not real, why do we need to change society?
Because the very reason that is the very reason, because you said we're following this society that's not real and that's insane. So if we want to get sane, we need to get back to sanity. That's why.
So we're changing one not real thing to another not real thing.
No, we're dismantling the unreal thing and going back to what was real.
Yes.
Then you're making even less sense than before. So the thing that's in front of us that we can observe is not real, but the thing that you're wishing for is real.
Yes, Hank. Yes.
Yeah, and here's how I can answer that, Hank. And you bring up a good point that maybe I didn't reel in, which is, so here's how I came up to my philosophy. Is you see Andrew Wilson all the time saying, well, basically, if you don't have the Bible to place your morals on, then you have no foundation, and therefore you cannot have a philosophy because you have nothing to base it on, and it's all arbitrary. And so I'm taking it to the next step, and I'm saying, let's create this new philosophy called appeal to nature. That's how we base our philosophy on what is natural. And let me give you an example. You can take this to in any place, like all over your life, right? So like, for example, people say, should we use contraceptives? Let me give you that as an example. Is that natural? No. So that can answer our question. If we appeal to nature on all of this shit, on all of our philosophical questions, we can get the answers to everything.
That's literally a fallacy. It's called the appeal to nature fallacy.
That's okay. But I'm saying that is actually not a fallacy. It's kind of like saying the slippery slope fallacy is a fallacy, but that's not actually a fallacy. There's actually slippery slopes that are true. And I'm saying that this appeal to nature, just like people will say appeal to the Bible, and I agree that is a fallacy, but I'm saying, and you can call it a fallacy, just like I'm saying Andrew Wilson's appeal to the Bible is a fallacy, and you're saying my appeal to nature is a fallacy, and I'm just maybe disagreeing. I say appeal to nature has the answers, and it is a philosophy in itself that each person can answer all their questions with, without having to read a book. All they have to do is observe nature, or just think about what nature would do.
Still, man, that's actually. Go ahead, Hank.
So how do I know if I can trust my own observations when you're saying, well, I'm insane?
Well, first you have to recognize, that you're living. So I don't mean to answer too quickly, but this is how I kind of did it. You know, I was like Jack was saying, I feel like I used to eat meat and all that stuff, participate in this insane society. And then I had this experience, you know, where I realized, and I think that that's, you at least have to realize that you're insane, and you may not even, and then you can at least start to realize, okay, I'm insane and I don't even know it. So there's a lot of things that I'm doing that are insane, you know, and you can start to pick up on it. Like an example is I had a leather chair in my room. I'm not trying to, you know, but it's like there's plenty of examples. Like even after I stopped eating meat, I had a leather chair in my room. Which now that I think about it, I just picked this one up. I don't know what it is, but and I realized that black leather chair was actually it was black, like it looked like a rotten. After my eyes were opened, I was like, holy shit, that's like rotten flesh. It's like the throne of Satan. That's not a black leather chair. That's literally a dead carcass, black carcass made into a throne. That's like wicked evil shit. Like, so what I'm saying is, when you realize that we've been living in this insanity, that we're literally submersed in it and we don't even realize it, that's the first stage. You have to realize it, and then you can start to unravel it.
So it feels like you're just vying for your opinion. So you didn't give me the tools to distinguish between real and not real. You're just saying, well, here's my opinion. Believe me, or you're being unreasonable.
Hank, it seems like you're not willing to accept his opinion.
He can keep his opinion. I just haven't given me a good reason for me to adopt his opinion yet.
Okay,
but can I support his opinion with firsthand experience?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, thank you, because I do support his opinion. Getting back to nature, that's one of the things I've done, as many of you people know. I spent 7 months in the Appalachian Mountains in a tent. And then I turned around and came home for a while. And when I turned around and left again, I went down to the Ozarks and did the same thing, traveling around for a couple years. It's good for men to get back to their nature. It helps them better comprehend exactly who they are and what their real purpose in life is, particularly as it relates to that creationism and their children and the next generations. By you. Nature is a better teacher than anything else. Let's put it that way.
So how do I validate that it is, other than just believing you?
No, I'm saying you would have to have a first-hand experience, is what I'm trying to relay.
Okay. So
in order to make it a more objective point of view rather than subjective, there have to be more people subjecting themselves to getting out to their nature.
All right. So pretty much, I'm stuck in insanity till I just do whatever you tell me to do.
No, we're not telling you to do anything.
So how do I stop being insane?
Okay. Hey.
We never said you were insane.
Well, actually,
you kind of did.
I have a remedy, but it's taboo. You know, I mean, you might have heard mine. So I have this theory because I'm a cultural anthropologist partially, and yeah. So what got me into that was what's that?
You'll be good to keep around. I'm gonna make sure you talk to my friend in the Machine Lies. I'm gonna give you a link in the back.
Oh yeah, well, what turned me onto it was when I found out a speaker came into one of my classes and told us that they went down to Mexico, and in a Catholic church, they were giving out sacred magic mushrooms as the body of Christ during Sunday communion, and people were having religious experiences, and I thought that was very interesting and much more plausible than a piece of Wonder Bread, which I had been exposed to as the body of Christ growing up, and or a cracker or whatever it is. And so after looking into that theory and stuff like that, and I had some experiences with the mushrooms as well, and they're entheogens, which means like they're related to religion and God and whatnot. And so I had some religious experiences, like you're saying. So I believe that they're the body of Christ. And if you want to actually open your eyes and lift the veil, I believe that's what the Bible's referring to about the veil. That most society has this veil that there is in front of their eyes that they cannot see reality for what it is. And it's through what our guys are talking about, this cultural conditioning. So as we grow up, this veil gets thicker and thicker. We're told this is okay, this is what's right. You have to eat meat, wear clothes, fucking do all this, right? And then we're just veiled. We grow up and it becomes this cultural norm. It's ingrained in us. It becomes our belief system. We fight for it, we die for it, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. These borders, these flags, all this shit, right, that we're ingrained with. And when we lift that veil we realize, you know, that we're all just on this sacred planet here for a short period of time, and that we should all just, you know, what you see. I mean, I can't say it in words. You'll see it, what you see, but you know, you see that meat was actually somebody's body, some creature's body that they would have done anything to keep. That creature is a sacred animal. If we had found any one of these creatures on another planet, it would be, you know, mind blowing. But because we have them in such abundance, we just fucking slaughter them, and that there is no real logical difference between a human and a cow's sanctity of life. For example, I mean, when you get down to it, you know, you could argue that humans are more dangerous for the planet than animals are, and that an animal is actually more sanctified. I mean, I'm just saying, you get into all these arguments. I'm not trying to like say, but I'm just saying that the veil is lifted. You know what I'm saying? And you stop thinking in such a closed-minded cultural perspective.
So observation's not real makes me saying hallucinogens is real, and hopefully I just get the same signal you did, even though I know other people who say hallucinogens do not have your same opinion.
I mean, okay, so well, then what I want to ask you real quick to help me, I'll touch on what you're saying, is what is your standard? Like, what would be your standard of, you know, like, I guess you would call it evidence, or what evidence would you like? You know what I mean?
I go by see touch. Yeah, see touch for real, empirical.
Okay, so I'll give you an example of see touch. This is how I did it. Like I delivered my children at home using the nature philosophy, right? And here's how I did it. You know, I said, hey, wait, dude, do all the mosquitoes, all the cats, all the animals throughout time, before doctors were around, what did they do? Oh, they had their babies and they were all just fine. So I'm pretty sure I don't need to go to a doctor. It's natural. It's unnatural to go to a doctor. You know, so we had the baby at home and it came out just fine because that's what nature does. So, you know, and I was like, do I need to get my baby vaccinated? Well, I don't know. Is it natural to get, you know, vaccines? It doesn't appear to be that animals are doing that. And, you know, so I don't see that being the natural thing to do. But what you do find out is in nature, you know, we walk around without our shoes on. Let me give you this example. So what I found out was people were telling me, don't let your kids walk around outside with their shoes off all the time and stuff. Then after I looked into this thing with powder dusty, I found out that that's actually one way to get a lot of B12, and that it's actually really healthy, and that we need to be more exposed to dirt, more exposed to germs, more exposed to walking around with our feet on the ground. And
so I don't see a bunch of animals speaking English. Should we stop speaking English?
Oh my God, Hank.
And honestly, though, these are fair questions. These are fair questions, because I will say that if we get back into our natural state, we may not even necessarily, I mean, and again, you want to go extreme, we can go extreme. Yeah, what would be the net point of, you know, speaking when everything is in abundance and everything is good and everything is right there?
Steelman, you play your name well. You do. Your ability to communicate and to considering the alternative view. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Hank, with care, okay, as a friend, I think your mind is overcomplicating it.
Yeah, I agree that I overcomplicate it, but I think you're oversimplifying it. Just that everyone's insane. People just need to listen to me, then they'll be sane. Because there's a possibility that you're also insane, therefore you won't actually fix all the problems. Until we get the definition straight, we can actually independently verify real and not real. We don't know if anyone's sane or not sane yet.
All right. So regarding us then, how do we resolve this? Because I'm not saying that everyone must believe what I say. That's actually, I'm asking people to consider what I'm saying, to actually give it a fair internal opportunity to be right. Because if what I'm saying is right, then the way to return to this natural philosophy that's being pointed out, it's to do so with honesty. Nature is honest. Nature is revealing. Mankind, we've created all these reasons to not be honest, to not be revealing. We don't have to stay that way.
Yeah, so I'm going to say the quiet thing out loud. You
Okay.
equivocate consideration with agreement. You don't consider the possibility of some can consider your opinion, but also fail to agree with it.
That can happen. But what in the specific case, what I'm not, I mean, I was responding to your narrative of me that I've got an expectation that others believe what I say. Okay, and that's not what I am saying. What I am saying is that when people stop to think for themselves, they do better, but it's important to have the right information. And what I'm suggesting, yeah, it's never been done in history. Okay, not as far as we know. But I believe that everything has developed perfectly so that we could see the benefits of since the early 1900s, right? That's where America has really boomed. The industrial age leading to the technological age, leading to the banking age, right? So here we are in the land of wonder. And capitalism has done some great things. It's resulted in creativity. The competition has helped people study and learn what are the most efficient ways. How do I succeed? So separately, mankind has collectively gathered some amazing knowledge throughout time. Now, if we can come back together, having learned our lessons separately with the capitalist system where everyone's in it for themselves and we're all divided, if we can unite back together to create a new way, which I think is happening, I'm really confident of this. And here's the other thing I was thinking. If you can understand what I'm saying, and if you believe that this is possible, if this is the right thing to do, if it's the right thing to do, then it's got to be possible. And I believe it is possible for disclosure throughout the whole world, for the lies to be exposed, the people to come together, and for the world to unite. And if this is real, that time here on earth, it's coming soon. We will be celebrating, uniting, celebrating the end of debts, celebrating the end of wars. And then we'll be celebrating as we work together to see the changes in this world coming together, because we can deal with the islands of trash that are out there. We can restore and recultivate our agricultural systems, our educational systems. We can redesign and renew it all. But what are we going to choose?
So I see we're talking past each other. You're saying, if this is real, I'm asking, is this real? How do I tell the difference? You haven't given me a good answer yet, in my opinion. Maybe you have, and I'm just too dumb to understand or too insane to understand it. But when I ask, is this real? You just say, well, let's skip that part. Let's go with it.
What's real is, can we agree that right now is real?
Yes.
Okay. And we agree that logically, based on patterns from the past, it is real that from now, our future is continuing. It's starting now.
Yes.
Okay. So we're all here on the same timeline, here on Earth. Individually and apart, we're all dealing with the same players in Washington, D.C., the same characters on the news, the same cultural influences from our past. We're all dealing with a lot of the same. Michael Jackson and growing up with Bill Cosby and the pudding dumplings and all this stuff. That was me. But
and that's why I say no. We're living in very divergent bubbles. We have like cultural things that everyone knows about, but we're living in bubbles. So that's where I would have to disagree with.
Well, your disagreement, I agree with what you offered, but these different bubbles, I believe these bubbles can join together. I believe the separation that is created with the bubble, it's more pretend than it is real. Because these individual bubbles, what you're saying, Hank, to confirm, and so I think I understand what you're saying, the bubble Elon Musk is living in, holy shit, that one is way different than one Jack has ever been in, right? Donald Trump, same thing. They're living in different realities than you and I. But you and I, even though our realities are different, we can agree we're all here at the same time, including them. We're all here at this time. So even though there's these individual bubbles that people are living in, we're all contained within the one happening. And what we do, what we say, what we think, how we treat each other, it genuinely matters.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I want to help communicate in Washington, D.C. What those people say, what they think, what they do, how they treat others. It substantially matters more how Donald Trump treats others than it does how Jack treats others because of his position, his role.
So actually, for that, I actually not sure if it matters. I'm undecided on that. I can't prove either way whether his position makes much of a difference between his decisions and my decision. So I don't know.
Well, we can agree he's got a lot more eyes on him than you and I do. There's a lot more people watching what he says, what he does, talking about it.
But maybe the eyes of God's only relevant eyes that we should be caring about. So that's why I don't know.
And with that, I gotta go play my part in this, my own singular little bubble. I gotta get a nap. I'm tired, folks. Be blessed. Good to see you again, Jack. Thanks for having me up. You know the rest.
Rest well. God bless you.
Well, hey, Jack, you brought up, you're kind of bringing up a good point earlier that you're circling back around to. I wanted to touch on when I was listening. You were talking about how, you know, Trump is kind of responsible for like a lot of this stuff. And, you know, I'll just, again, put this out there that I'm not like a left or right paradigm person, and I don't support like, you know, well, Trump, I'll just say that, you know, but my beef is not with him. My beef is with his supporters, because they claim to be, a lot of them claim to be patriots and all this stuff. And if it wasn't for his supporters, if it wasn't for literally the, you know, not the guy down the street, but probably, you know, then he wouldn't be getting away with any of this shit. So I blame the guy, the supporter, just as much, if not more, than I blame Trump. And that's why I get a little bit ticked off. And so now to bring a realistic question around to you would be, it can be hard to, you know, like I said, you want to just strangle these people because they want to literally kill people and all that stuff. And so you're like, wow, like these people are literally dangerous. So it kind of makes you angry, right? Or at least me, right? So I'm like, how do you engage in a dialogue with these people and get them to open up and have a conversation without there being these walls between us?
That's the important question. That's the $1 million question. How do you communicate with these people who've lived a life where it's reinforced them and what they believe in? Well, that's the common man, just as it is Elon and Donald Trump, right? It's all of us are in this paradigm. Each of us have these mental blocks. So here, let me answer your question. What I've been studying and what I found is effective, despite my failures, I know this is how it works. The exchange of truth, right? God is the truth. So it's actually the exchange of the energies of God, the divine power. For that to be shared, it must be done with love. Love in the present. You know, this is where I envision my development, and online has been part of this to help me do a better job of compassionately communicating with compassion so that the messages can be properly received. I believe that when I get to Washington, D.C., the way to approach this is through humanity. We are human beings. And so if I can be in a place of love, with love, for love's purpose, I believe that God will bring the right truth forward.
It's war, man. It's war in the chat right now.
Is
Sorry,
it?
Jack. It's on, buddy. We're launching
No,
bombs. Drop the
chat,
bombs.
no, the chat's very peaceful relative to how the most shows go. So
This has been great.
No, but there, and so this is what if you look at the chat, you'll see what I'm getting at is it's like, and I'm not trying to like point anybody out, but I'm actually pointing out the literal dynamic. It's like commie land. Now I'm a communist, and this is what it would. Oh, and okay, there we go. Like
Coffee land.
We'd be living in full blown commie land, is what I think they're saying. So
Yeah.
I'm the bitch. I'm the bitch. Now here's why. And they have the United States terrorist flag behind, in their image icon there and everything. Okay, so. Now, why would I be the bitch when I'm sitting here literally saying they're deporting United States, or I don't even care if they're, well, okay, but let's just say for their sake of their argument, we're deporting United States citizens without due process and deporting them over to foreign torture camps indefinitely without, again, due process. And I'm the bitch for not supporting that. How do you begin to engage with this, right? So how would you?
So this has been relatively peaceful considering the other shows. I didn't even have to moderate anyone today. I haven't seen any moderation because no one did personal attacks or death threats, doxing. So it's been peaceful in my opinion. And I've been here for a really long time, so I seen the chat when it was bad. So, but pretty much, I think where Stacey's coming from is if you go in and assume people are insane, there's no way. This can be really harder to relate to them and talk to them at their level, and if you don't, I think that's her issue.
Okay, and that could be fair. I can accept that. With our guest and the comments, I'm not sure if you've come across our friend Daisy yet or not. She's very vocal and very proud supporter of the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. But it doesn't change back to what you said, though, okay? You hold responsibility for his supporters. They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones to blame. The other ones who hold responsibility are his enablers, okay? Because the power of the oppressor, it's limited by the strength of the oppressed, by the willingness of the oppressed. And I suggest that mankind has been, especially in America has been deceived and manipulated into voting against their best interests. Donald Trump is evidence of that. So for me, the definition of enabler is pretty broad, okay? And I am guilty of enabling my own problems in the past, and I'm guilty of enabling the problems of others in the past. If we see a problem and we know a solution, if we fail to act, we're enabling.
Okay, well, I'm going beyond enabler. I'm saying that I have seen it progress. It already was. You could see it in the beginning was a cult, but it literally progressed to the point where it's become now, no matter what he does, they'll even say, we would never support him doing this. And then he'll do it and they'll say, well, we justify it because of fucking, pardon my French, some other dumb reason, right? And it'll go on and on. And that's when it's become so sickening that literally it's like, wow, these people are literally in, I mean, I'm not even using the word cult right, probably because it's been so overused. Like I'm talking like serious cult to the point where they're following this person blindly, no matter what he does, even if he becomes a total tyrant. And even if he were to kill people en masse, they would still support it. And you're talking about, well, I would like to engage with these people and talk to them. And I'm saying these people are, like he's saying, they're so insane that how could you possibly engage with them?
Dude, those are my type of people. If you haven't noticed online, the patterns have continued. I seem to attract and I get along pretty well with some crazy fucking people. People that other people don't get along with, people that other people don't understand. I find a way to get to know them, and I actually think Donald Trump he'll be grateful when he meets me, once he gets past his ego drama bullshit. And then he'll be glad to get through his ego drama bullshit, and he's going to be glad he met me.
I feel you. Okay, I can see that because you're kind of like you did with Dusty or whatever. Like if you have a one-on-one conversation, you're doing it from like a place of good faith. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Where I'm at, I know. Holy cows, man! I didn't notice that. You are in the top of the list for sure as an enabler of me and my insanity. You're something special, Hank. That's for sure. Thank you, brother. The way I see this life, where I didn't just wake up one day with these ideas and say, yep, this is what I'm going to do. It was a progression. We started out earlier talking about a change in dietary choices, right? We learn new things. We try different things, and different things move us along. My world got rocked. I became dead to those who used to enable me. And so I had to figure out who I am. What do I want to do with the rest of my life? Well, if this is the life I've been given and I get to choose what I do, I want to try and experience ending wars. And I think if I want to be a part of ending wars and ending wage slavery, because the lifestyle of constantly fighting, the lifestyle of trying so hard to obey and to be good, that lifestyle drove me nuts. So I don't like being insane with anger. I don't like being insane with regret, with guilt. So I chose to be different. I wanted to be better. And brothers and sisters, you're here just like me. We're travelers in this adventure of time. We're here to create the life story, and we're here to create and to realize the life story that is happening with you. Who are you becoming? What do you want to do with your time, with your life? Because at some point we're going to reach the end of the destination. We'll cross over beyond life into the death realm, and then we'll experience something different, or we won't. But at the end, I imagine we're going to look back and we'll have these memories, these lessons. I don't want to go to my grave with regret. I don't want to go to my grave or cross the line thinking, why didn't you do that, Jack? You were there. Why didn't you do something? Why didn't you do something more? So when I started learning about self-development, about really empowering yourself, walking with faith, walking with love, walking with conscience, with clear conscience and purpose, once I started learning those things, brothers and sisters, this live without fear, it came to me for a reason. The fact that it was still there waiting for me, that others hadn't secured and licensed, the fact that live without fear wasn't branded a long time ago blew my mind. But hell, once I associated me, Jack Talcott, with the live without fear, guess what? God allowed me a lot of opportunities to put it into practice, because I found fears I didn't know I had. But here's the reverse of that. God has answered to me life, the universe, this experience, this journey, the travel through time. God has blessed me with answers to prayers that I never knew to ask for. God has been so kind to me, and yet I spent so much of my life complaining, miserable, afraid, and angry. I was insane. Today on the panel, and I want to thank the guests. They stepped out silently. Hank and Steelman, blessings to you. El Perro was here earlier. If I missed anyone, please forgive. But these conversations were amazing, I feel, because any conversation means that we're still going. We're still living. And if we're living another day, that means there's future plans. We don't know the plans. We don't know the future, but what we do know is what we've said, what we've done. We know what we've done. We know what we've said. We know what we've not done. What have you not said? Who have you not told that you love? Who have you not confessed your betrayal to? Who are you still carrying guilt and unforgiveness with? Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and be honest. Be honest with you so you carry no unforgiveness. So you carry no resentment and guilt and all of these things, the shame, the unworthiness. You don't profit from those things. The billionaires do. Okay, and it's not anyone in particular. I'm not pointing blame, but our systems of society are broken. Let's accept that fact. It's not perfect. We're not perfect. This reminds me of a final idea. Earlier today, my example. The wording I post sometimes, I know how I come across. And here, let me just read this through as I wrote it. Welcome to all my fellow travelers and adventurers who are here on Earth and at this time of history. I salute you and recognize that while our paths through time are clearly different than each other, life can be challenging, and we have somehow made it until today. Congratulations. Today starts a new journey into the future, and we are already well into the path of time that unites us with the all of eternity. So I'm looking at that after I posted it, and I'm thinking to myself, does that make any sense? I know it's a lot of words, but are people going to get what you're saying? Okay, and so here I am. I'm evaluating my actions. I'm reevaluating, seeing what can improve or should improve. And the thought that came to me is good enough. It's good enough to be done, and good enough to be done for me, man, that's perfect. It's perfect to get something done. It's even better to get it done the right way, in the perfect way, but sometimes good enough is perfect. Can you see the good enough in you? Can you allow that good enough in you today to become perfect? I believe with trusting God, perfection is there. I'm going to wrap it up from here. Sincerely to all of you participating on the screen, in the chat, or you tune in later and you're just there with your thoughts and your heart. God bless you. Sincerely. I've been having fun. Oh, let me do an update too on the way out. I am heading to Washington, D.C. I'm continuing to make plans, and I'm hoping to have arrangements made by the time I get there. I intend to try and communicate with leaders of the United States Postal Service again, as well as leaders of the American Postal Workers Union again. And then through them or other methods, I hope to speak to the leaders of Congress and the administration of this glorious nation of America. Let's become who we were here to become. Become and claim that which you are. If you're coming from the land of America, particularly if you volunteered and you served, man, let's claim what is ours. And what is ours is to be shared, but ours to be shared has been freely given. That freely given is freedom. That freedom is found when you align with the way, the truth, and the light. Christ Jesus, man. Allow him to be your king and voluntarily, willingly serve others. Serve others with joy in your delight, as God will delight in your service to others. And here, let me get going. So I'm heading to DC. Today's Talcott Tuesday. I believe I'm checking out tomorrow and I'll be on the road. Oh, I forgot to ask. I could use some advice. If anyone's willing, or suggestions, comments, or whatever, reach out to me. But heading out from Kansas City to DC, it looks like I got a couple of options after St. Louis. Go north into Indianapolis or south into Kentucky. The Spirit is guiding me, and I'm open to any guidance, inspirations, messengers who might be moved to offer some ideas. Connections would be cool too. So if I can meet people along the way, that's what I hope to do. If you're on the way, in the way, and you're willing to connect, man, let's hook up. This life, I'm creating, I'm living the life of my dream. I am free here in the land, and I've got a purpose, but I am a traveler, and the Spirit is what's guiding me. So the plan is, the reason I bring this up too is I probably won't be live streaming. It's not in my planned itinerary right now, but I will reevaluate as I go, and I'll try and stay in touch, because I know there are many of you. I was reminded of this again today as well by someone who reached out, text. When I'm absent, there are people who miss me. You know what applies to me applies to you. When you're absent, there's people who miss you. There's people who care about you. They're thinking about you and your well-being. And if I know you, you know it's true. I'm going to wrap it up there. Sincerely to all of you, deep love, deep respect, and gratitude from me to you. Till next time, choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. God bless us all. Peace.